Welcome back, motherfuckers. Two things real quick. I stubbed my toe on my brew kettle valve. When I did that, it hurt. And also, I don't know why I always swear in the intros. I don't know what, is that funny? Do you think it's funny? Is my sense of comedy really just saying naughty words? It's a miracle that any of you watch my videos. It really is. Thank you for being here though. I get it, okay? I understand. Okay, you like hard cider. You like Mike's Hard Lemonade. You like flavored malt beverages, and your beer friends think you're a pussy because of it. Well, listen, okay? You might be. Not because of that though, because maybe for other reasons that I don't know. However, liking hard cider does not make you a pussy, because I like it, and look at me. I'm obviously not a pussy, right? Welcome back to the Wolf King Brewing YouTube channel. Once again, it's been too long. It was loud actually, Jesus. Put that back before I hurt somebody. Once again, it's been far, far too long. I wish I had more time to make videos, I really do. I have lots of ideas for videos that I wanna make, but the time, man, I don't have enough time. Today we are here, this is gonna be a quick video to talk a little bit about hard ciders. This is the first hard cider that I've made in a while. You'll notice that I won't use the word brewed because you don't brew cider. It's actually incredibly easy to make a hard, sparkling cider at home. So today that's what I'm gonna show you a little bit of. Sort of between like a showcase and an instructional video. You know that my videos lack identity in a very severe way. I obviously have no direction for my videos. I just put a camera on me and whatever happens, happens. Maybe I should have done porn. It really is incredibly simple and pretty cheap. I don't even know how bugs get in here, dude. This is my little twist on just a basic hard cider recipe. This is a chai spiced hard cider. I called it Chai Baby, mostly because my partner Brooke loves the movie Cry Baby, or maybe she just loves young Johnny Depp. I can't blame her. Maybe I could pull that off. The rest has to be like slicked back. Just this piece has to be like, do I look like Johnny Depp from Cry Baby? I'm very sorry that you all had to be part of that. Chai Baby, chai spiced hard cider. There's a hair on my glass now. It's delicious. I actually like this a lot. I would describe it as semi-sweet. I wanted to see kind of how cheap I could go and still make a drink that tastes somewhat sophisticated, to the point where it's not like a Mike's Hard Lemonade. It's not a Red's hard apple cider. It's not super sweet and cloying and boring, It's sort of complex and it has some depth and some spice to it, but it's very good, man. If you like chai spiced things, to me this tastes like cinnamon applesauce. Like straight out the gate, this is a cup of cinnamon applesauce, but it's alcoholic, so what's not to love? I feel like I have really good energy in today's video. Some videos are just blessed, good vibes. Good vibes only in the comments, please. Post your good vibes in the comment section below. I'm having a hard time recording this because I keep drinking this. It's damn good. Damn, my compliments to the chef. Let's talk a little bit about what I did and how I made this. Now, I started with this almost gross looking jug of store-bought apple juice. Now, that being said, I actually bought 4 of these. These are 1 gallon each. I went to the store, the freaking grocery store, brother. Just doesn't matter which one. This is Kroger brand apple juice, 100% apple from concentrate with added ingredients. Now pay attention to the added ingredient part because that is important. I checked the ingredients, and you want to check the ingredients of any cider or apple juice that you buy that you're going to use to ferment into cider, because added ingredients can cause problems for the yeast. This has water, apple juice concentrate, and ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid is not going to make a difference here in anything. That's vitamin C. It's really not a big deal. So that added ingredient is not an issue here. So picked up 4 gallons of this, very cheap. Don't remember how much, a couple bucks a gallon, I'm sure. And I used 1 pound of pure cane sugar. Again, just the stuff you can buy at the store. It might look something like this. Cane sugar, corn sugar, candy canes, candy corns, syrup. Don't use syrup. Well, actually you can use syrup for this, but we're trying to keep it simple here. We'll do that on another day. Maple would have been an interesting addition to this. Maybe I'll experiment with that on the next batch. I like how I bullshit myself into thinking an idea is good. It's crazy. I started with the base 4 gallons of store-bought apple juice from concentrate. You can get fresh stuff. You can press your own if you're very bold. You can get good high-quality cider and use that as a base. All of it is going to affect the flavor of the final product, but you can get away with and make a good tasting hard cider with cheap store-bought apple juice. 4 gallons of that. I just dumped it into a sanitized fermenter. I just dumped it in there. Just dumped it. You've seen me dumping before, but I'm still going to show you the footage. There it is, I'm dumping. I then heated up a little less than a half gallon of water to about 180 degrees, sort of like a pseudo pasteurization, sterilization kind of deal. And then I dissolved the 1 pound of cane sugar in that water. Now you may ask, why the sugar? Why are you adding sugar to it? I don't want it to be super sweet. Well, hold up 1 second, or that's 2 seconds, but 1 second. Let me tell you something. Let me learn you something, boy. The reason I added the sugar is because I wanted to boost the original gravity or the sugar content of this solution. You can add sugar, or you can just start with whatever the base of the cider or apple juice you're using is. After adding the sugar solution to the apple juice, I took my original gravity reading and I found to be at 1051 or 51 gravity points. All this is doing is just making it so there's more available sugar for the yeast to ferment into alcohol, effectively boosting the alcohol by volume in the finished product. Usually the yeast that you would use for something like this is sort of like a champagne variant. That champagne yeast will dry this out all the way. That being said, I did cut it off a little bit short, and I will explain how in a little bit. But first, let me show you the yeast that I used, but I'm gonna go grab it out of the fridge behind me because I forgot. We'll be right back after these messages. So here is the yeast that I use for most of my cider fermentation. This is from Brewer's Best. It's called Cider House. It is specifically made for hard cider fermentation. It's very capable. It's a very capable yeast. It has a huge temperature range, 54 degrees to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 12 to 28 degrees Celsius. It's a great yeast. I just sprinkle it in dry. I don't rehydrate it. That's enough for 5 to 6 gallons worth of cider, and it does its job very well. So I sprinkled in the dry yeast. I then added an airlock to my fermenter, and I put it away to undergo fermentation. I fermented this at about 70 degrees, although it was just ambient temperature. I didn't put it in any kind of fermentation control in terms of temperature, so it was really just whatever ambient temperature it stayed at. But having such a wide temperature range, and really it doesn't have like an ester profile. I mean, if I ferment it hot, I don't get crazy off flavors necessarily. So I kind of just put it in the closet that's right smack dab in the middle of the downstairs of my house. It stays cool in there, it's completely dark, so I put it in there and I let it sit for about 10 days. After those 10 days, I took a gravity reading to check how much sugar had been turned into ethanol and carbon dioxide by the yeast, and I found that it was at 1008, or 8 gravity points. Now after it had reached its final gravity of 1008 and there was no noticeable fermentation activity, again, I could have let it sit for a couple more weeks and I probably would have gotten down below 1.0, into the 998, 997 range. But really, I felt like this was a good place to stop my fermentation. I was going to be backsweetening this anyways. Now that I had reached my final gravity, there's two things that I did. Now I wanted to stabilize this product. Stabilize meaning I wanted to sort of deactivate the yeast. I'm not using the word kill because kill is not correct in this situation, but I added potassium metabisulfite and potassium sorbate. Now those two chemicals in a combination added at certain times will effectively deactivate your yeast. It will not start to multiply. It will not kick up again into fermentation. So you are stabilizing the product effectively. I did this for a few reasons. One, because I wanted to be done with fermentation. Like I said, I wanted it to finish where it sat right then and there. I didn't want it to continue fermenting and continue drying way out. And two, because I was going to be back sweetening this. In other words, adding more fermentable sugars to it after it had undergone fermentation already. There's a chance, well, not a chance, it would certainly continue fermentation. Once I added more sugars, the yeast would kick right back up into activity and start to make more alcohol. And I didn't want that because I wanted the residual sweetness from the concentrated apple juice that I was going to add later, which again, I'll tell you about shortly. And at the same time, I added a metric ton of these chai spice tea bags. That's not the actual measurement. I actually used, I think I used 15 of them. Nope, I definitely used more. I used 19 of these chai spice tea bags. Any generic chai spice tea will do, but I couldn't find the tea itself in bulk, which I would have just added to a hot bag and steeped. So instead I just bought a box of tea bags and added pretty much the entire quantity except for save one tea bag. I added them to a hot bag, much like, I mean, you've seen these suckers before unless you don't brew, but I don't need that. Right here, look at this, one of these suckers. This is my reusable one. It's a cinchable mesh bag, very fine grain mesh, so nothing's gonna sneak out of here. But I put all the tea bags in a bag like this and dropped it into the fermenter, shook it around, mixed it around, made sure there was good contact between the tea bags. And I feel weird saying tea bags so much. I feel like I've said it 1,000 times. Those of you who are sharper amongst us may notice that what I'm doing is effectively making tea. And that's exactly correct. I'm steeping tea bags in not water. You know, normally you would steep it in hot water to make your tea, or cold water to make a cold brewed tea, but I'm steeping the tea in my finished cider, effectively adding tea and the flavors that come along with the specific tea that I'm using to the finished beverage. I only steeped the tea bags in the fermenter for 2 days, 48 hours, that's all. And it gained a ton of flavor almost immediately. After the first 24 hours, I took a sample and it was just tons of chai spice and cinnamon and a little bit of clove and maybe some nutmeg just like blowing up in my face. So I thought, okay, maybe I should take them out already so I don't continue to pull more flavor. But then I thought, you know, I'm gonna be back sweetening this with some apple juice concentrate. So let's leave them in there. So I gave it 48 hours with the bag full of tea bags, cold steeping in the fermenter. I'm saying so many words. Have you guys noticed that? That's crazy, dude. I'm not high. I know I seem like I'm high. I actually have never smoked in my life. This is just how I am, which is kind of f***ed up. I have maybe what you would describe as an overactive brain and mouth. Take that however you want. But man, did it work. I mean, just a box of tea bags and it gave me this wonderfully spicy, like I said, kind of holiday scented, you know, like it smells like pastries and cinnamon rolls and applesauce, cinnamon applesauce. I get so much of that character, but the apple and the chai spice mix work so well together. The only other thing that I thought that I might want to add was vanilla to this, and even that I stopped. I didn't do anything because it tasted so damn good and it was so drinkable. I was worried if I added vanilla, I would border too much into like the dessert drink kind of territory, so I stayed away from it because most people, though vanilla is actually inherently extremely bitter, most people when they taste vanilla, their brain associates it with sweet things. Think ice cream, think pastries, you know, think things like that use tons of sugar but also vanilla. So our brains tend to associate vanilla with sweet things, and this is not a sweet cider. Like I said, semi-sweet. It's a little bit dry. It's got a nice drinkable finish to it. It's not cloying at all, but it's got a great spice character to it for sure. So after those 48 hours of steeping the tea bags, I decided it's time to keg this bitch. But it was super dry and had virtually no sweetness at all. It was kind of harsh drinking, so I wanted to add a little bit of sweetness back. There's multiple ways you can do this. You can just add straight sugar at this point because I've stabilized this. You know, it's stable, so the yeast will not kick back up into fermentation activity. So I can just add straight sugar to this. That's not really the route that I wanted to go, and not the route that most people take, although it works. You can add unfermentable sugars if you don't want to stabilize it chemically. You can add lactose, you can add stevia, though bear in mind, lactose is not as sweet as you might think it is, especially in a cider, and stevia is gross. I've tried this before with stevia, and it just tasted like liquid stevia. And I know what you're thinking, you use too much stevia. Well, guess what? You use too much stevia. That's you, that's what you sound like. You sound stupid. I opted to chemically stabilize and then back sweeten the beverage. And it worked amazingly. I gotta say, this is the best way to do it. I'm doing it like this forever. And these chemicals, potassium sorbate and potassium metabisulfite, they're not expensive. You can get metabisulfite in the form of Campton tablets. You can also just get it in powdered form. It's not expensive, it's easy to get. You can buy it on Amazon, and it takes so little to stabilize a batch, and you'll never have to worry about bottles exploding or fermentation kicking back up. But keep in mind, if you are going to bottle condition the beer and or cider, it won't work. You'd have to add more yeast at this point because the yeast has been effectively deactivated. If I were to add some bottling sugar, bottle up the entire batch, and then just wait for natural carbonation to occur, I would need more yeast in order to ferment the bottling sugar and do natural carbonation. So just keep that in mind. I only did this because I can force carbonate with a keg. So at this point, it was time to back sweeten it. So while I was kegging it, what I did is I added 2 cans of frozen apple juice concentrate that I had thawed out into liquid form. You see this at the grocery store, 100% apple juice from concentrate with added vitamin C. Again, you want to check the ingredients. There's no high fructose corn syrup. There's no added sugar. This is just 100% concentrated apple juice with ascorbic acid. Again, doesn't hurt anything, but I thawed and added 2 of these cans to the keg. These are 10 ounces each, 12 fluid ounces each. And after the apple juice concentrate was in the keg, I went ahead and racked the finished cider over into the keg and purged it with CO2. And at this point, it's pretty much done. It's ready to be burst carbonated overnight. I went ahead and burst carbonated this in my keg by attaching my CO2 and setting my regulator pressure to about 38 PSI. Now again, Your mileage may vary. There's no exact science here. This is just me knowing my setup and my equipment and how I get good results, but I did want this to be nice and bubbly and effervescent. So 38 PSI for 24 hours, and that gave me great crisp carbonation. But that's it. It's good. It's delicious. It's a perfect thing to just have on tap. If you have a kegerator set up at home, or if you have a keezer, or even if you just have a keg, it's a perfect thing to just have for folks who don't love beer. This is a wonderful alternative because very few people are not going to like the way this tastes. I'll tell you right now. If you don't like apple juice, you won't like the way this tastes. But other than that, pretty few people would be offended by this. Anybody who doesn't like it is lying. They're just lying to themselves and to you. And that's rude. I'm not here to ruin friendships, but I am here to teach you how to make delicious beverages, and that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or if I skipped over anything, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. And cheers. Enjoy making and drinking your own hard cider. I'll see you guys in the next video.